So today I'm going to make two different dishes. So the first one will be Hawaiian Garlic Shrimp. So these are really huge shrimp. I think the biggest ones, I don't really know the size. I think they're like 15 by 16 shrimp that I got from Costco. So I got a whole bag of them. This is half of the bag. Can you imagine? I have half left. I'm going to make that with white rice. I actually have prepared, I have some lemons, which look like lime because they're like gigantic. And I have, I've already peeled my onions. And then the next thing I'm going to make, the next dish I'm going to make are farro with seared scallop. So these scallops I have also purchased from Costco, and they're huge. So I don't really need to, you know, serve too much. I can serve like two with like a cup of farro. So if people who don't know what farro is, it's a grain, and I usually soak it first. It's like blé, but it's like much bigger and the grain is much thicker. So I usually drain it first. I pour hot water over this and drain it overnight so it can actually open up. And then I will cook it, but I'll start cooking it like a fried rice, but I cook it as if like I'm cooking regular Haitian rice or I'm cooking like blé. I cook it just the same way with peas or with any beans you like, and then I serve it with the seared scallop. And then the shrimp, I'm just gonna serve it with white rice. So it's gonna be, when I went to Hawaii, I could not stop eating the garlic shrimp that they sell. Like one spot that my husband and I went is like at the North Shore. It's a truck, it's a food truck, and they're called Giovanni's. They make the best. So we actually loved it, and every day we were there, which was really nice. So I'm gonna replicate that dinner, and I'm gonna see how it turns out today. So stay tuned. So let's start by seasoning the shrimp first. We're gonna season it and leave it aside for about 15 minutes because there's gonna be there's gonna be lemon juice in it. We don't want to cook the shrimp. We just want to actually just marinate it for a little bit because, you know, shrimp, they absorb really quickly. So I'm gonna like use half of this lemon because it's pretty big, and I'm gonna put in 1 tablespoon of paprika, and then just, you know, just put it in there, sprinkle it in there. But I'm gonna use a little bit more because I love paprika. You know, your own discretion. I you know, I can overdo it sometime with the spices, but I love spice. And you about 1 teaspoon of kosher salt. So I'm gonna just eyeball this, okay? And then half a lemon, squeeze it in. This lemon is gigantic, and then it has no seeds, so you know it's just like a mutation. And we're gonna mix it together. Oh, and also before you marinate your shrimp, make sure it's really, you have patted dry, because you don't want your shrimp to be wet, because when you fry it, it's gonna start like, you know, just the oil's gonna start like popping, and then it's gonna burn you. So make sure you have drained and dried your shrimp first before you marinate it. So now it is marinated, and I'm gonna put it aside, and then I'm gonna move on to my scallop, and I'm gonna marinate that too. One thing I forgot to mention, and I need to mention that because this is called garlic shrimp. Do not skip on the garlic, which I almost did, because I have to marinate it with 1 cup of garlic. So I have actually minced a whole thing of garlic. So it's like more like mush garlic, which I love because I added in everything. So I'm going to put 1 tablespoon of that into the marinade and into the shrimp to marinate it. And then there's going to be more garlic in the end. But for now, we have to marinate it with garlic because it has to have that flavor in it too. So stay tuned. So the next thing I'm going to marinate are the scallops. So also the same thing. Don't let them get like, you know, too wet, because when you sear them, they're going to be like, they're going to start popping, and you don't want that. You want them to be really dry. I'm going to just remove some of this water. And then, so this is my marinade. This is my seasoning. So I actually made this, and this is what, these are the spices I added to it. Now my sister, who lives in Maryland, make sure I get all these seasoning from her, the Amish market near her. So I use like a little bit of the steak rub. I use the chicken rub. I use garlic herb seasoning. There's a roasted garlic seasoning, and my favorite that I use all the time is the smoked paprika. It's so good with like seafood, so good with shrimp. I use it all the time. And chicken rub. I mean, like, I know that they're not seafood rub, but they actually go great with any seafood that I've made, and I usually just use them. So what I'll do is, as you can tell, it looks good, and it smells so good because of the smoked paprika in there. So I'll put in like just a like a tablespoon of it, you know, because it's gonna be more like a smoked scallop, which I really, really love. And then I'm gonna just use fresh garlic because I use that all the time. So I'm gonna put a little bit of the fresh garlic in there. It's about 1 tablespoon. Garlic never hurt anyone. Maybe make your skin a little bit, you know. And then I mixed it up. And then as you can tell, look how good it looks already. So I'm gonna put that aside, and I'm not gonna put any lemon juice in here because scallops tend to get cooked real fast. So because they're cooked real fast, I want to wait until like when I'm cooking them, and then I'll just, you know, sprinkle a little bit of lemon over them. So, but I don't really like to overcook my scallops, you know, because scallops cannot be overcooked. So this is how they look right now, marinated, and then I will come back when they're ready to cook to go over. So let's start cooking the farro. So I have a warm pot. And I'm going to be adding a little bit of my olive oil. I'll say maybe about like 1/4 cup of it. And then, of course, my Haitian seasoning. I'm going to use about a tablespoon of it. See? The oil is nice and hot. I'm going to use half of an onion, which I've already chopped up, and I'm going to throw in here. And then 2 small, like Roman tomatoes. And I removed the seed and then just chopped them up, you know, because I want to add a little bit of color to the farro. And I'm going to sweat out the onion, and also I'm going to cook down the tomatoes. So I want this to look really lively and beautiful. One thing that that I use, and you know what, my cousin used this, Colleen, she used this all the time, and you know, she got me hipped on this, is the bouillon, but it's like super strong, so you gotta use a little bit of it. So this is seasoned vegetable base. So I want this to be more of a vegetable base, like vegetarian dish. So I'm not really going to use anything that's going to have like meat to it. So I'm just using a little bit of it. I just start with a little bit. A little bit goes a long way. And if at any point I need more, I can add more in the end. So I'm going to use about 1.5 cups of the gandules, which is like, you know, pigeon beans, because that's what I'm going to add to that, because I love to add a little bit of beans to my farro. So, and also I'm going to cook that down, sweat it down before I throw in my farro. So it's just layers. It's going to be layers of goodness in here. So, you know, I think because the rice, the beans were a little cold, so they sort of cooled down the, you know, the oil. So I'm going to put up the heat a little so it can bring it back up. So, but it really does look good. It's not bad, but I think it needs a little bit more seasoning. I'm going to add a little salt, but let me just wait before I add the salt. Maybe I'll just add a little bit more of the bouillon to it, because I think it could definitely use that. Just a little bit more. That was about like a tablespoon. It's looking good, tasting good. So now I'm going to throw my farro in there. So, and this is roughly 2 cups. And 2 cups goes a long way, So it expands to that. It's going to expand more as soon as I cook it and I steam it down. It's going to expand more, and it's going to look so much better. It's going to look so good and so beautiful. So this is how it looks now. So I'm really just frying it, and I'm going to let it cook down a little, and then after I'm going to pour some water in there. But you can use vegetable broth if you want. You can use chicken broth if you like, you know, to just cook it down. But I use regular water because I am layering my seasoning, so I don't mind just using just regular water to this. I don't want the bottom to burn, so I'm always going to be mixing it. I just want it to sort of, you know, I'm frying it, but then not burning it. I think it's a little bit more oil. I'm going to pour a little oil over it. Yeah, that looks much better. I really love when I'm cooking rice or when I'm cooking any grains that it looks glisten. It just glistens. I love that. You see, look at the bottom. It's already cooking at the bottom, so you really have to mix it. So now I'm going to add a little bit of water. So I would have to say about 2 cups of water, or until, you know, do what we do when we make rice. You know, we add water until it gets like a little over the, it covers the rice a little, and then you let it cook down, and then after you know, simmer it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let it cook down, and then I'm going to simmer it. So the fluid has cooked down. It's getting lower, and then I added 1 Scotch bonnet pepper in there, of course, you know, c'est Haitian, you know, soit plus dur, c'est comme ça, c'est pour mettre, you know, piment dans pour bali goût. And it's at the point where when I'm ready to fill, you know, it's farro. Look how beautiful it looks. It looks like blé, but it's not. You know, it's just gorgeous, and it tastes delicious. And I think people should definitely substitute that sometimes instead of eating blé all the time. So, well to fill, and then we'll go back to it when it's ready and it's cooked to show you how it looks. So we're gonna move on to cooking the shrimp. We're gonna make, sorry, I didn't open that up. We're gonna make the garlic shrimp now. So I'm using a little bit of oil, not too much, maybe about 3 tablespoons of oil. I use extra virgin I know it was said that you shouldn't be cooking with, you shouldn't be frying with like olive oil, but I like cooking with olive oil and I like frying with it too. So, to each his own. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to take the shrimps, and this is cornstarch. So I'm gonna place them in the cornstarch, you know, just as a batter to make them nice and crispy. Pat them because I don't want it to be super thick. Make sure the oil is okay. The oil's good, and then I'm gonna place them in there to cook. So this is like a process, but it's pretty good. You're gonna make you gotta try and make them nice and crispy first before you make the garlic butter or the garlic sauce to go in them. I'm gonna fry these and then I will show you guys what they look like. Now these shrimps are pretty big, so they're gonna take a little while to cook. I would say maybe 5 minutes to each side, or could be less. You know, shrimp don't take long to cook, so be careful how you cook them because you don't want to overcook them and you don't want to make them, you know, too hard or chewy. And yes, I am leaving the shells on the shrimp because that's what it's called for. So I'm making Hawaiian garlic shrimp, and when they serve them, that's exactly how they serve them. They serve them with their shell. All you do is remove the shell and then you eat your shrimp. But it's a bunch of goodness inside those shells. I'm telling you, the juice, the garlic juice and everything tastes so good. All you have to do is just peel them and eat them, you know, with a side of white rice. Okay, so I have about 10 shrimp in here. So I'm going to check them out and see how they look, and then flip them. Let's see. Ooh, looks good. Look at that. Looks really good. The other thing is with these shrimp, because of the cornstarch, it really will, what will happen is it will turn the oil into like really thick and stuff. Don't worry about it. All you need to do, you're going to have to you're going to clean it and then redo the same process over again, because I have a lot of shrimp I have to actually cook. So once I'm done, then I will show you guys the next step. But I want you guys to see what they look like now. Aren't they? Don't you really think they're beautiful? Look at my shrimp. They look awesome. Just gorgeous. All right, the shrimps are done. They're looking really, really good. If you can tell, they're nice and crispy. And look how beautiful they look. And they're juicy. Look at that. They're juicy. So I'm going to continue on and move on to the next step. So next step is we're going to make the garlic sauce, the garlic butter to go with the shrimp. It's phenomenal. So I'm going to make sure my pan is hot. I'm just going to add a little bit of olive oil, not too much, maybe 2 tablespoons. Because there's going to be, this recipe calls for a lot of garlic and a lot of butter. So there is about 15 cloves of garlic in here. I'm going to add that to the pot, to the pan. And then I'm going to add a little bit of my mesh garlic too, because I just feel like it just needs it. Probably don't, but just a little bit. See, this much. That's about maybe 1 teaspoon. I love the smell of it. It smells so good. So what we're going to do is we're going to sweat out the garlic first before we move on to the next step. So this is how the garlic's going to look. Nice. It looks really nice and it smells so good. But don't let the garlic burn, because if it burns, it's not going to really taste good. So you have to just let the garlic sweat down, but not burn. So you have to keep mixing it. You know, it's a recipe that you really have to babysit. So it's looking really good and it has sweat down. So I'm gonna start adding my butter. So I'm gonna start with 1 stick of butter. This calls for a lot of butter. I'm so sorry, but let me tell you, it's not a recipe for someone that's on a diet. And this is unsalted butter. I've added 1 stick. I'm gonna add my other stick of butter to it. So, and then I'm gonna lower the heat because I don't want it to burn. I just want it to start, you know, to start cooking down. And then I'm going to add a little bit of salt because this is unsalted butter. I'll say about like a teaspoon of salt. And that's kosher salt. I'm gonna add some pepper. The same, about like, you know, oh, I didn't even look at that. I didn't even remove this. So there's a lot of pepper in there. So I say about maybe 1 teaspoon, not a tablespoon, a teaspoon. All right, and then you're gonna add your other stick of butter. Yes, lots of butter. But if you look, it's getting really good. It looks really, really good. There's a lot of shrimp. So, of course, you know, it's 1 stick of butter per 12 shrimp. So I have a good amount of shrimp in there. I think I have about close to 30 shrimp. So I'm going to just add 3 sticks of butter in here. Let me taste it. Oh, I'm going to add a little bit more garlic because I feel like the garlic there isn't enough garlic. I know you might say there is, but there isn't. 1 more tablespoon of garlic. And then keep cooking it down. You know, until you can taste the garlic in there. It's really, really good. I'm going to add a little bit more salt because I feel like I cannot even taste the salt in there. So, let's see. This is salt. So this is, it's like another, I say another teaspoon of salt in there. Perfect. So I'm going to add my other half of lemon to it. Oh, there's seeds in here. All right. So, and stir it. It smells so good. Oh my God, I love it. It smells so good. You know, you're just going to have to let it cook down a little before you add your shrimp. So we're going to get it down to, you know, just to keep cooking the, oh, it's perfect. It is so good. So we're going to let it cook down a little bit more, like about 5 minutes, and then we're going to add our shrimp. Okay, so it has cooked down, and it's looking really good. Now we're going to add our shrimp. So I'm telling you, there's a lot of shrimps in here, and it is looking phenomenal, if I should say so myself. I'm going to move the camera a little bit closer so you guys can see it. It's looking really good. My husband's gonna love this. Bring back good memory. Our anniversary is in a few days, so, you know, we're gonna whoop it up, as Vicky would say, on Real Housewives of Orange County. Okay. See, I told you guys, there's a lot of shrimp. A lot. I was not joking. This baby is gonna be filled up with shrimp. Look at this. Just gorgeous, I'm telling you. Just beautiful. I love making this dish. I don't know. I love cooking, period. Okay. So this is it. So you just mix it in there. Ooh, my God. So beautiful. Look at that. The garlic is all over it. It's just so gorgeous. Oh my goodness. I love to cook. And look at all that garlic. Look. Just beautiful. Okay, and now this is done. I'm gonna move on to my white rice to go with the shrimp. But I wanted you guys to also see my farro. It's like, it's done. It's just, look at it. It's just so beautiful. I want you guys to get closer to see it. Look how beautiful it looks. It's just so gorgeous. And it does look like blade, but it isn't, you know, but healthier and looks, oh, maybe, can you guys see it more? It looks so delicious. So, you know, giving everybody options. So the next step is the white rice, and I'm gonna make the scallop. Okay, this is the last step. We're gonna be searing the scallops. So I have some oil in the pan, about a tablespoon of oil, and it's warm right now. It's been on there for about maybe 5 minutes. So I want them to be nice and crispy at the end, so I'm gonna sear them. Let's see if this works. Oh, it's not too hot. Thinking that it was hotter than that, but it's getting there. Okay. I'm gonna add all the scallops. Well, as much as the pan could hold. So I'm gonna make sure that I get a little bit of the seasoning, you know, the marinating seasoning on there, because I don't want it to be, I don't want to miss out, you know, I just wanted to have the seasoning on there. So, you see what I'm talking about. So, these are some good scallops. I'm telling you, I love pasta. So, okay, I have about 7 in there. So I'm gonna cook it on one side. You know, don't turn it because scallops are very fragile. As you can tell, because when I was mixing it, it opened up a little. This one opened up a little. They're very fragile, so it's mostly, you know, don't really stir them. Just let them just cook, and then what you're gonna do is just flip them when you're ready to flip them on the other side. So I would have to say maybe, see, I'm gonna be really honest. I cook scallop, but, you know, I try my best to cook it the right way. So maybe about 2 minutes on each side. So I'm just gonna move it a little. I'm trying my best not to touch it. If you can see, like over here, maybe you might not be able to tell, but like right here, you can tell when like it's starting to cook, because it's getting a little white. It's rising, so I would have to, like, I'm gonna turn it now. I'm gonna turn this one. Ooh, it looks really pretty. Yeah, see, it looks really pretty. So I'm gonna do the same thing with some of them. Ooh. It smells so good, and I think it's the smoked paprika that makes it smell this good. It smells like delicious. So, and that's what I'm gonna pair up with the farro, because the farro itself is just so gorgeous. I just don't like really to, you know, to just like throw any meat over it. So we're gonna flip this too. I'm gonna flip this. It's looking really, really good. Let me try and see if I can add seeds over here. It's getting a little juicy down there. Okay. I know the pan's getting really big and getting full, and what happens is if you add too much, it lowers the temperature in there, and they don't cook properly, and I don't want that. So I'm trying my best. This is good. This one is good. Ooh, this is really good. I mean, you truly have to babysit them. Okay, this is good. Good. So let's plate the farro and the scallops. And I like to plate it in a bowl. I don't really like to plate it in, because I feel like it's like a comfort food that you can eat in a bowl. And I always eat it this way, and I always plate it this way, whether I make it with shrimp or I make it with scallop. I always plate it this way. So if you look how beautiful that looks. It's the farro, and you can tell from the grain how big it is. So I'll add a few spoons of it. Just oh, I don't want to take the pepper. So, you know, you present it, make it look a little bit pretty. So I like to, you know, have it like this, if you can see. And then I just add a couple, you know, 2 to 3 scallops on top of it. You know, and that way, when you cook it, you know, and you present it, it looks at least a little bit, it looks presentable. You know, this is how I like to make it. So it's a simple dish, but it's nice and healthy, and it tastes delicious. And I just can't wait to see everyone who have tried farro just to add it. Show me how you make it. You know, put in your own little flair to it. This is my own little flair. You can do it whichever way you want. It doesn't necessarily have to be plain. So this is my farro with scallop. But I'm gonna show you guys my shrimp and white rice. I'm waiting for my white rice to finish, and I'm gonna plate that, and then you guys can see how it looks. I'm gonna be plating my white rice with garlic shrimp. So this is a garlic white rice, and I made it just the way that they made it in Hawaii. So it's actually really mushy. It's not that original Haitian white rice where it's like really flaky and you can see like the grains of the rice. So it's really mushy, and the reason why they do it this way is because when they scoop it, they give you 2 scoops of white rice. If you can tell, I'm trying to show you guys. So it's 2 scoops of white rice. All right. So my scoop is pretty small, so I'm gonna try and see if I can make it 2 big scoops. So this is how they serve it. And then they give you about maybe 6 to 12 shrimp. And then they, you know, they just fix it up for you, make it look really nice. I'm gonna put about 6 shrimp here. All right, and then they take the garlic sauce, the garlic butter. Well, really, it's like really just like a garlic butter. And then they just take it and just pour a little bit over the rice, you know, to make it look really beautiful. And then they serve it this way with like a wedge of lemon on the side. So this is my white rice with Hawaiian garlic shrimp. So this is how it looks, and I'm actually quite proud of myself.